Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the heart of the quaint town, where Maple and Oak Streets embraced, stood an enigmatic antique store that captivated Ruby's curiosity. Its windows, veiled by the mists of time, displayed an array of intriguing treasures, inviting her gaze whenever she walked by. Each visit pulled her in with its allure, prompting her imagination to run wild with stories untold. On this particular autumn afternoon, she finally decided to venture inside. A small bell tinkled as Ruby pushed open the heavy wooden door. The scent of old books and polished wood enveloped her, and she found herself surrounded by shelves upon shelves of mysterious objects. Her eyes darted from ornate clocks to tarnished jewelry boxes, each item seemingly whispering secrets of bygone eras. As Ruby meandered through the narrow aisles, her gaze fell upon something that made her breath catch in her throat. There, leaning against a dusty bookcase, stood an ornate full-length mirror. Its frame, intricately carved with swirling vines and delicate flowers, gleamed despite the dim lighting of the shop. Ruby approached the mirror, drawn by an inexplicable force. As she stood before it, she noticed something peculiar etched into the frame just above the reflective surface. Leaning closer, she read the inscription aloud. "Behold thy true self. Step through and be transformed." "Fascinating, isn't it?" A gravelly voice spoke from behind her. Ruby jumped, startled by the sudden appearance of the shopkeeper. He was an older man with twinkling eyes and a salt-and-pepper beard. "It's beautiful," Ruby replied, running her fingers along the intricate frame. "What's the story behind it?" The shopkeeper chuckled. "Ah, that mirror has been here longer than I have. Legend has it that it once belonged to a powerful sorceress who used it to reveal people's hidden truths, but who knows? It could just be an old wives' tale." Ruby couldn't tear her eyes away from the mirror. "How much is it?" "For you? Let's say $200. It's been taking up space for far too long." Without hesitation, Ruby agreed to the price. As she left the shop with her new acquisition, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had just purchased something truly extraordinary. Later that evening, Ruby's best friend Noah arrived at her apartment, curious about her latest find. Noah had always been supportive of Ruby's penchant for collecting unusual items, even if he sometimes teased her about it. "So, what's this mysterious mirror you were so excited about?" Noah asked as he stepped into Ruby's living room. His eyes widened as he caught sight of the ornate piece standing in the corner. "Wow, that's something else." Ruby beamed with pride. "Isn't it gorgeous? And look at this inscription." She pointed to the etched words above the glass. Noah leaned in, reading the words aloud. "Behold thy true self. Step through and be transformed." Sounds pretty dramatic. Ruby nodded enthusiastically. "The shopkeeper said it might have belonged to a sorceress. Can you imagine?" Noah laughed, running a hand through his short brown hair. "Come on, Ruby. You don't actually believe that, do you?" Ruby shrugged, a mischievous glint in her eye. Maybe not. But wouldn't it be amazing if it were true?" Noah rolled his eyes good-naturedly. "Sure, and I'm secretly a princess from another dimension." "Well, why don't you try it out?" Ruby challenged, gesturing towards the mirror. "Step through and see if you transform." Noah hesitated for a moment, then grinned. "All right, I'll play along, but when nothing happens, you owe me dinner." He stepped in front of the mirror, his reflection staring back at him. Noah was tall and lean, with broad shoulders and a strong jawline. He wore a simple blue button-down shirt and jeans, his usual casual attire.
"Here goes nothing,"
Noah said with a chuckle. He lifted his foot, pretending to step into the mirror. Suddenly, the glass before him rippled like water. Noah's eyes widened in shock as he felt himself being pulled forward. Ruby gasped, reaching out to grab him, but it was too late. In the blink of an eye, Noah vanished into the mirror. Ruby stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She stared at the mirror, which now showed only her own reflection, panic rising within her. What had just happened? Where was Noah? On the other side of the mirror, Noah found himself in a world that looked eerily similar to the one he had just left. He was still in Ruby's apartment, or at least a version of it. The furniture was slightly different, the colors a bit off, but it was undeniably the same space. Noah looked down at himself and let out a startled cry. His body had changed. Gone were his broad shoulders and flat chest. Instead, he now possessed a distinctly feminine figure. His hands flew to his face, feeling softer features and longer hair that fell past his shoulders.
"What the hell?"
he whispered, his voice higher and more melodious than before. He stumbled to the bathroom, flicking on the light and staring at his reflection in disbelief. The face that looked back at him was undoubtedly his own, but with softer angles, fuller lips, and long eyelashes. He was a woman. Noah's mind raced as he tried to make sense of what had happened. The mirror had actually worked. He had stepped through and been transformed, just as the inscription had promised. But how was this possible? And more importantly, how could he get back? He rushed back to the living room, but the ornate mirror was nowhere to be seen. In its place stood a simple, modern, full-length mirror that showed only his new reflection. A knock at the door startled him out of his thoughts.
"Noah? Are you home?"
A familiar voice called out. Noah hesitated, unsure of what to do. The voice sounded like Ruby's, but how could he explain what had happened? Taking a deep breath, he opened the door. Ruby stood in the hallway, looking exactly as she had in Noah's world, except for her clothes, which were slightly different. She raised an eyebrow at Noah's expression.
"Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost."
Noah opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. How could he possibly explain this situation? Ruby's brow furrowed with concern. "Noah, what's wrong?" Noah took a deep breath. "Ruby, I'm not sure how to explain this, but I'm not the Noah you know. I'm from another world, I guess, where I'm a man." Ruby stared at him for a long moment, then burst out laughing. "Oh, come on! Is this another one of your pranks? Did you get Kate to do your makeup again?" Noah shook his head frantically. "No, Ruby, I'm serious. There was this mirror and an inscription about revealing your true self, and I stepped through it and here I am." Ruby's laughter faded as she saw the genuine distress on Noah's face. "Wait, you're not joking?" "I wish I was," Noah said, running a hand through his long hair in frustration. "I don't know what to do. How do I get back?" Ruby's expression softened. She stepped into the apartment, closing the door behind her. "Okay, let's say for a moment that I believe you. Tell me everything." Over the next hour, Noah explained the events that had led him to this parallel world. Ruby listened intently, her initial skepticism gradually giving way to a mix of fascination and concern. "So, in your world, you're a man, And we found this magical mirror in an antique shop? Ruby asked, trying to process the information. Noah nodded.
Yeah, and when I stepped through it, I ended up here, as this.
He gestured to his transformed body. Ruby sat back, her mind whirling with possibilities. This is incredible. I mean, if what you're saying is true, we're dealing with actual magic here. Parallel worlds, gender transformation. It's like something out of a sci-fi novel. I know it sounds crazy, Noah said, but I swear I'm telling the truth. I need to figure out how to get back to my world. Ruby leaned forward, her eyes shining with determination. We'll figure this out together, Noah. I promise. But in the meantime, we need to think about how to handle your situation here. The Noah of this world, the woman you are now, has a life, a job, friends. We can't just let all of that fall apart while we search for a way to send you back. Noah hadn't even considered that aspect. He felt a wave of panic wash over him. Oh God, you're right. What am I supposed to do? I don't know how to be her. Ruby reached out and squeezed Noah's hand reassuringly. Hey, it's going to be okay. I'll help you. We'll take it one step at a time. Over the next few days, Ruby worked tirelessly to help Noah adjust to his new reality. She explained the basics of this world's Noah's life, her job as a journalist at a prominent newspaper, her circle of friends, and her daily routines. Noah struggled at first, feeling like an imposter in someone else's life. The simple act of getting dressed each morning became a challenge as he navigated the intricacies of women's fashion and makeup. Ruby patiently guided him through it all, offering advice and support. As the days turned into weeks, Noah found himself slowly adapting to his new identity. He threw himself into his work at the newspaper, discovering that this world's Noah had a passion for investigative journalism and a particular interest in women's rights issues. One morning, as Noah sat at his desk poring over research for an article, his editor approached. Noah, I've got a big assignment for you, she said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. There's a major women's rights conference happening next month, and I want you to cover it. This could be your chance to really make a name for yourself. Noah felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He had been researching women's issues for his articles, but attending a conference? That felt like a whole new level of immersion.
That sounds incredible,
he replied, trying to mask his nervousness.
Thank you for the opportunity.
As he prepared for the conference, Noah found himself delving deeper into the world of feminism and women's rights. He read countless books and articles, interviewed activists, and attended local meetings. To his surprise, he found himself becoming genuinely passionate about the issues he was learning about. The day of the conference arrived, and Noah felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety as he entered the bustling convention center. The air was charged with energy as women from all walks of life gathered to discuss and debate the pressing issues facing their gender. Noah attended panel discussions, took copious notes, and even found the courage to ask questions during Q&A sessions. As he listened to the speakers, he felt a growing sense of connection to their experiences and struggles. During a break between sessions, Noah found himself in conversation with a group of attendees. They were discussing the challenges of balancing career ambitions with societal expectations of women. It's frustrating, one woman said. I feel like I'm constantly having to prove myself in ways that my male colleagues don't. Noah nodded, surprising himself with his response.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like we're playing the game with a different set of rules, and yet we're expected to achieve the same results.
The women around him murmured in agreement, and Noah felt a sudden surge of confidence. He continued, drawing on both his research and his unique perspective as someone who had experienced life as both a man and a woman.
But I think that's why spaces like this are so important,
he said, gesturing to the conference around them.
We need to come together, share our experiences, and work towards changing those rules. It's not just about individual success. It's about reshaping the entire system.
As he spoke, Noah noticed more people gathering around, listening intently. He felt a rush of adrenaline, realizing that his words were resonating with this audience in a way he had never experienced before. By the end of the conference, Noah had made numerous connections and had been approached by several organizations interested in having him speak at their events. His article about the conference, infused with personal insights and passionate advocacy, was met with overwhelming praise from both his editor and readers. In the months that followed, Noah found himself increasingly involved in the feminist movement. He wrote more articles, gave speeches at local events, and even started a blog discussing gender issues from his unique perspective. As his influence grew, Noah grappled with complex emotions. On one hand, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment in the work he was doing. He was making a real difference, using his voice to advocate for change and inspire others. On the other hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was living a lie. This wasn't his world, wasn't his original identity. One evening, as Noah sat in his apartment, reflecting on the whirlwind his life had become, Ruby dropped by. "I saw your latest article," she said, a proud smile on her face. "It was incredible, Noah. You've really found your voice in all of this." Noah sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Thanks, Ruby. It's just... sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself in all of this. Or maybe I'm finding myself. I don't know anymore." Ruby sat down next to him, her expression serious. "Noah, I know this isn't the life you expected to have. But look at all the good you're doing. You're changing people's lives."
"I know,"
Noah replied. "And that's what makes this so complicated. I've been thinking, what if I can't find a way back? What if this is my life now?" Ruby was quiet for a moment, considering her words carefully. "Would that be so bad? I mean, I know it's not what you planned, but you've created something meaningful here." Noah pondered her words. He thought about the passionate debates he'd engaged in, the people he'd inspired, the sense of purpose he'd found in this new life. It wasn't what he had chosen, but it had chosen him in a strange way. I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing," he admitted. "But I still feel like I'm living someone else's life sometimes." Ruby squeezed his hand. "Maybe it's time to stop thinking of it as someone else's life. This is your life now, Noah. You've shaped it. You've made it your own. The experiences you've had, the perspective you bring, that's all uniquely you." Noah nodded slowly, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. "You're right. I've been so focused on trying to be the Noah from this world, or holding on to who I was before, that I haven't allowed myself to just
be."
In the weeks that followed, Noah embraced his identity with a new sense of purpose. He continued his work in journalism and activism, but now he approached it with a sense of authenticity that had been missing before. His unique perspective, having experienced life on both sides of the gender divide, brought a fresh voice to the feminist movement. Noah's articles and speeches often challenged traditional narratives, encouraging both men and women to question societal norms and expectations. As his influence grew, Noah was invited to give a keynote speech at a major women's empowerment conference. Standing on the stage, looking out at the sea of faces, he felt a surreal sense of belonging.
We often talk about gender as if it's a fixed, immutable aspect of our identity. Noah began, his voice steady and confident. But what if we could see beyond those boundaries? What if we could truly understand and empathize with experiences different from our own? He paused, taking in the rapt attention of the audience. I stand before you today as someone who has lived that journey. Through an extraordinary twist of fate, I've experienced life on both sides of the gender divide. And what I've learned is this: our shared humanity is far more significant than the labels we assign ourselves. Noah went on to share insights from his unique journey, challenging the audience to think beyond traditional gender roles and expectations. He spoke of the strengths he had discovered in embracing his femininity, but also of the importance of recognizing the individual behind the gender. As he concluded his speech, the room erupted in applause. Noah felt a surge of emotion, pride, gratitude, and a sense of finally being at peace with his place in this world. In the aftermath of the conference, Noah's influence in the feminist movement skyrocketed. He became a sought-after speaker, author, and commentator. His book, Crossing the Divide, A Journey Through Gender, became a bestseller, sparking important conversations about gender identity and societal expectations. Yet, even as he embraced his new life and the positive impact he was making, Noah never forgot his original world. He kept the truth of his journey a closely guarded secret, sharing it only with Ruby, who remained his steadfast friend and confidant. One quiet evening, years after his transformation, Noah found himself back in Ruby's apartment, standing before a familiar mirror. It wasn't the ornate, magical mirror that had brought him to this world, but a simple, full-length mirror that had witnessed his journey of self-discovery. As he gazed at his reflection, the face and body that had once felt foreign but now felt like home, Noah smiled. He thought of the life he had left behind, the one he had built here, and the countless lives he had touched along the way. "Behold thy true self," he whispered, echoing the words that had started this incredible journey. In that moment, Noah realized that he had indeed found his true self, not in the physical form he inhabited, but in the person he had become, the values he stood for, and the change he had inspired in the world. The mirror before him showed no magical properties, no shimmering portal to another world. But as Noah turned away, he felt a sense of completion. He had stepped through a mirror and been transformed, not just in body, but in spirit and purpose. As he left the apartment, ready to face whatever challenges the future held, Noah knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be. In crossing the boundaries of gender and reality, he had found not just his true self, but his true calling.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!